Here is another session of using the ActivInspire software with the Promethean board for interactive lessons in the classroom. And we are playing ActivInspire Jeopardy. We're on round 2 where we're going to talk about different ways to use revealers to reveal answers to the students or have students answer questions. So let's go ahead and start with the selection arrow and let's click on revealers for 100. So in order to do a lot of the revealing, you have to understand and use layers. So let's take a look at the object browser, which shows us on this particular page what items are on the top layer, these particular images, and the front of the treasure chest, and then all the text is on the middle layer, and then the only thing on the bottom layer is the treasure chest itself. And notice 2 of these items are locked into place, and that way a student can't move them by accident. So let's utilize the treasure chest example first. So a student could be asked to come up to the board and grab the pen with the selection arrow and point to the treasure chest, and as they click and drag, they'll actually be pulling words out of the treasure chest, which they can then match to the correct image. And again, the way that this was created is there's actually 3 pieces here. There is a treasure chest sandwich. So the top image is actually using the camera tool, took a picture of the front of the treasure chest, just the top rectangle, and that is locked into place and covering the text. And then on the back layer is the treasure chest itself, also locked into place. But in the middle, we have the text that has been sandwiched between the 2, and that way a student can drag that text out and identify the correct instrument in this case. So that's one way to do it. Let me just drag these back to where they belong here, behind the front of the treasure chest. Another way that you could have students reveal an answer or slightly different purpose, in this case they would guess what the name of the instrument is, and then they could find out if they were correct by revealing the answer, which is behind it. So the answers are behind each of these images. Again, the image is on the top layer, the texts are on a layer below that. And so in this case, you might think you could use the eraser tool, but the eraser tool does not work. As you can see, it doesn't do anything on an object. The eraser tool is only used when you have annotation. Let's use another color so you can see that. When you have annotation on the screen, that's what the eraser tool erases, pens and highlights and stuff like that. So in this case, you have to use the magic ink tool. The magic ink tool, I have added it to my toolbox, but if you don't have it on your toolbox, then you just simply go to the tools menu and choose it this way. So a student would guess the name of the instrument, and then they could use magic ink to erase from the top layer so that they could see the next layer down, and again using magic ink to do that so they could find the correct answer hidden underneath each one. So I have a few other similar examples that I would like to share. One is using a Venn diagram, and I like this. I got it from Promethean Planet. Basically, there's a whole bunch of text items, as you can see, on the middle layer underneath this shape. Notice the shape and the text on the shape are locked into place and on the top layer. So behind it are a bunch of facts, and the student is supposed to come up to the whiteboard, drag a fact, and put it into the right place. And I have no idea what the correct answer is for that one, but that's probably a good guess, and so on. So they can just drag items, every student could come up and pull an item out from behind the box and place it in the right place in the Venn diagram. Also notice that I have set up a page reset button here so that I could easily reset and bring everything back to where it started. This is easily done with the action browser and drag and drop. Just simply drag and drop this item to the page. Now, one more example is utilizing the magic ink. And so what I have here, if I look at my object browser, is a photograph with an image behind it that shows the inner workings of a volcano. So in this case, student would be able to come up to the board and using the magic ink tool again, erase down to the other layer and reveal what it looks like inside a volcano. So again, use of magic ink to erase from one layer down to another layer. All right, so those are just a few basic revealer examples. Now let's take a look at revealers for 200. And this one uses the property browser instead of the object browser. Basically, what we can do is create a tooltip such as this or a caption for any object on the page. So I'm going to go ahead and select this object. This was just simply created using the shape tool on the toolbox, a call out, and then the object is selected and you go up to the property browser and you're looking at a label. And there's two kinds of labels you could create. First of all, you type in whatever you want your tooltip to say up here in the top box and choose your font, etc. And then you can choose a color if you want it to really stand out. Mine's yellow. And then you choose whether you want it to always be on, which would be a caption, or you want it just to be on mouse over. Now on the board you don't have a mouse, you have a pen, but if the student just hovers just barely above the board without touching it, that's when this appears. And they move their pen away and it goes away. So this is really a handy way to have tips for students on mouse over. All right, let's take a look at another example of a revealer by choosing revealers for 300. This is a pretty basic example where you would, for example, have a student come up to the board and with the pen tool label a different part of the business letter. So this, let's say, they think is the closing. Then they could check and see if they were right using the eraser tool and erasing underneath it to reveal the correct answer. So the eraser tool works in this case because basically we have used whiteout. So what I can do to demonstrate that is let me just choose a bright color here with the fill bucket and fill the page, and you can see these little white splotches. They were basically just drawn over top of the answers with the pen tool and the color white, and so whiteout. And I'm going to go ahead and go back and undo that pink so you can't see anymore, but basically now that's annotation, so the eraser tool will allow you to reveal the correct answer. So that's another way to reveal, use the eraser. All right, so taking one last look at revealers, here is what's called a magic revealer, and this is something that you do have to create. It's a little complicated. I'm going to turn on the notes browser where I've written instructions for how to create something like this, but you can also get these, like I got this one from Promethean Planet. So what we have here is an item that when you drag it across the page, it reveals what's behind this photo on the top layer, so the different instruments in this case that are in the symphony. So on the object browser on my very top layer, I have this locked image of the symphony, but below that I have all of my instruments and the labels, which are the text. So in order to create your own magic revealer, what you do is you pick any object, and so from the resource browser, for example, you could use something like this. Now it's a little difficult to do. I'm going to go ahead and right-click on it and bring it to the top layer. So let's go back to look at our notes. So I've done the first two steps here. And then I'm going to use the magic ink and erase the center. And I would want to do this a little bit neater, take the time to do it neater, but for now I'm going to leave it like that. And then basically what I can do is select all the magic ink and the image itself. And what I want to be careful of, let me go ahead and zoom out just a little bit here so that I can make sure that I have everything together. So basically this is what I have. I have two pieces. So I want to group that together. So I'm going to just select them and group them. And now I have created my own magic revealer. So you can create your own, but you have to do in two parts. You have the object and then you have the magic ink and then you group that together. Let me switch the zoom back to best fit here. And so this one is a little more realistic, but if you want to save these, you can actually drag them back to the, it doesn't show up now, but it will. I can make it part of the resource library so I might be able to use it again. Okay, so that concludes our second round of ActivInspire Jeopardy!